This game has been reviewed so many times already, I wasn't sure if I should even bother, but I decided to do it because it holds personal significance for me. This is the first game that I ever bought for myself. The year was 1990, I was in 6th grade, and the NES was the system of choice. I had some money I earned mowing lawns, and I wanted a new game. So, one Saturday, my dad drove me to the toy store, I looked over their selection, and I came home with Friday the 13th. There were several reasons why I picked this game. The main one was I've always loved scary stories in movies, and at that time I'd never seen a scary video game before, so that intrigued me. Also, since my parents wouldn't let me see R-rated movies, I'd never seen any of the Friday the 13th films, but I'd heard a lot about them from kids at school, and they sounded awesome. So when I saw the game, I thought I'd finally get to taste a little of what I'd been missing. One other deciding factor was this logo on the box that said the game was part of the Power Play series. I had no idea what that meant, but it sounded cool.
The Power Play series.
Like this game is gonna punch you right in the face. So I bought it. And I played it. And I learned that day that not all games are created equal. In Friday the 13th, you play as one of 6 counselors at Camp Crystal Lake. And wouldn't you know it, Jason Voorhees is on a rampage. Your job is to protect everyone he attacks and ultimately to defeat him. Good luck with that. In addition to Jason, you're constantly being attacked by zombies, all of which are supposedly victims of Jason's previous massacres. This is actually sort of a cool concept, but I guess I missed the movie where Jason kills 5 million people, because these things spawn indefinitely. You also have to fight off crows, bats, and wolves. Everywhere you go, something's trying to kill you. This makes me wonder, whose idea was it to put a summer camp here? And what kind of sick, unfit parents dropped their kids off? Didn't they take a tour of the place? Even without Jason and the zombies, it's a deadly environment. Anyway, whenever Jason attacks somebody, an alarm sounds and you have to open your map to see where it's happening. Then you hurry to that location. If you don't get there in time, the counselor or kids under attack get killed. If you do arrive in time, you fight Jason. These battles are reminiscent of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! If Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Was unresponsive and not fun. After you chip a measly bar or two off Jason's health, he runs away. Then you get to wait for him to attack someone else. Occasionally, Jason will target you directly when you're out running around. These fights are brief, but they can knock a lot off your health. If at any point all the kids get killed, your game is over. You also lose if all 6 counselors die, though for practical purposes, you lose as soon as Mark and Chrissy bite the dust. The other 4 are slow and next to useless. When you're not fighting Jason, you have to search for better weapons and equipment. You start the game armed with rocks, which do pathetic damage and frequently arc right over your enemies. Just by walking around, you'll soon come across the knife. The knife flies straight, but it still doesn't hit very hard. If you want any weapons with real power, with Power Play power, you're gonna have to earn them. One of the strongest weapons you can earn is the torch. You obtain the torch by going to each large cabin and lighting the fireplace inside. This is every bit as tedious as it sounds. You navigate the cabins in a crappy pseudo 3D mode that will never feel intuitive no matter how many times you do it, and somehow lighting all those fireplaces gives you the torch. Other weapons and useful items can be found by searching in cabins and forests and the cave, and some of the best items in the game are obtained by defeating the decapitated head of Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mother, but I'll talk more about her later. So you fight Jason over and over, and each time you take a little off his health. When his life is finally drained, you advance to day 2, when he's even stronger and faster. And if you can beat him on day 2, you go on to day 3. On day 3, he's almost too fast to hit, and he does a ton of damage with every attack. In this incarnation, he's near impossible to kill. But if you do manage to defeat him, you beat the game. There are some things I like about Friday the 13th. I like the title screen. And I like the in-game graphics for the most part. They're not incredible, but they work for the kind of game it is. I really enjoy the way the different layers scroll on certain backgrounds. It gives them a fun sense of depth. I also like most of the music. My favorite track is the one that plays inside the cabins, which has a kind of spooky, kind of sad vibe about it that fits well with the license. As far as the individual assets for this game go, I can't find that much to criticize. It's in the way they're all put together that it really falters. Unfortunately, it falters pretty hard. The control is kind of loose, some of the weapons are inaccurate, the pseudo 3D segments are confusing, the notes you find strewn around the cabins aren't very helpful, navigating the cave and forests is a nightmare, and defeating Pamela Voorhees on the later levels is almost impossible. And then there's the music. I wasn't lying before when I said I like the music. What I don't like is how little of it there is. And why did they choose such a short track to be the music that plays throughout almost the entire game? That's it. That's the whole song. It just loops over and over and over. And I'm not even saying that it's terrible. It's a decent track for a password screen. But it was insane to make it the main music. It's 4.287 seconds long. Let's do a little sloppy math. At 4.287 seconds, this track plays from start to finish 13, almost 14 times a minute, which means it plays roughly 780 times an hour. I estimate that as a kid I played this game at least 40 hours trying to beat it, and I'm sure the main music was playing at least half of that time. By these conservative estimates, I have heard this track no fewer than 15,600 times. Ugh. And then there's the map. Everybody hates this map because it's almost impossible to tell when you look at it which direction you're going. I've heard some people say there's a logic to it, but the only working formula I can come up with for it is this. Whatever direction you think you're going in, you're wrong. It won't work trying to second guess it either. If you try to go in the opposite direction of the direction you think you're going in, you'll find yourself going in the opposite direction of that. Don't try to figure it out, just accept the simple fact that whatever direction you think you're going in, you're wrong. And believe it or not, there's something in the game that'll burn you even worse than the map. It's a deadly enemy, and I'm not talking about zombies or bats or wolves or crows or even Pamela Voorhees. I'm talking about the knife. The knife is a dick. Once you've earned one of the good weapons in the game, watch your step. Don't go running or jumping around if you can avoid it, because the knife could appear at any moment. And if you touch it, you bought it. Forget all that hard work you put into getting the machete or the pitchfork or torch or whatever. You've got a knife again. It's always waiting to pop up out of nowhere and screw you over. The one time it won't appear is when you're trying to upgrade from the rocks. And I have to mention what I consider one of the great video game betrayals of my childhood. This wasn't the fault of just the game, but also the instruction manual that came packaged with it. Beating Jason on day 3 was so difficult I didn't think I'd ever be able to do it. But I still had hope. And that hope was Jason's mother's sweater. I believed if I could get my hands on that, I could take Jason down on day 3, no problem. Because it said in the instruction manual, the very instruction manual that came bundled with the game, that Jason wouldn't attack you if you were wearing his mother's sweater. So I figured that had to be the secret. The problem was, killing Pamela Voorhees on day 2, the day when she drops the sweater, is kind of hard. But I persisted. I played through day 1 again and again and again just for another chance to fight her. And finally, after weeks of trying, I defeated her. I killed Pamela Voorhees, the sweater appeared, and I equipped it. Then I strutted back out into camp. I couldn't wait for Jason to strike again so I could kick his ass. I figured I had the game beat at that point, because according to the manual, the very manual that came with the game, this used to belong to Jason's mother. Wear it, and he will not harm you. Here's what really happens. Yeah, he kills you. And when this happened to me as a kid, I just sat in stunned silence for several minutes. I knew I'd equipped the sweater. There's no mistaking when you have it on because your clothes start flickering. I had it on. It just didn't work the way the manual said it would, and that pissed me off so much that I never played the game again. At least, not till now, for the purposes of this review. Friday the 13th is essentially another link in the chain of crappy licensed games published by LJN. I've heard people call it one of the worst games ever made, but I wouldn't quite place it in that category. I've definitely played worse. There are even moments when you can sense that a little bit of love went into making this game. I suspect if the developers had been given more time and money and resources, they could have made it a lot better. But it is what it is. Whatever its backstory, a bad game is still a bad game. And Friday the 13th for the NES is a bad game. I'm giving it 3 birds out of 5. Oh, and remember that logo on the box? The one that said this game was part of LJN's Power Play series? I researched what other games were included in that series, and this is what I found. The Uncanny X-Men, Back to the Future, NFL Football, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Pictionary. What's the unifying theme of all these Power Play titles? I can only think of one offhand. If there are any other titles in this series that I've left out, let me know what they are, so I can avoid them too.